All right, welcome to another edition of the Hot Seats with your host Cam Perry. With me, I got my co-host Brandon Zazima with me. This week is our NBA opening week edition of the show, and I want you guys to definitely hear me out on why I think Golden State is overrated. So my San Antonio Spurs, they beat the Golden State Warriors last night, 129 to 100. They absolutely destroyed them in every facet of the game. The bench outplayed them. Their interior defense was absolutely god awful. Talking about the Warriors, and Kawhi Leonard was a bad man last night. He had 35 points. He pretty much scored at will. He probably could have scored 40 if he would have played the whole fourth quarter. He had like I think he had I believe 31 points heading into the fourth quarter, and you had LaMarcus Aldridge who had a great game. He had 26 points, and people were talking about LaMarcus Aldridge. He's unhappy with San Antonio. He looked pretty comfortable last night. He didn't play like a player that was unhappy with the current situation he was experiencing being with the Spurs. And I mean, honestly, thought every single player for the Spurs, outside of Dwayne Dedman and maybe Pau Gasol, played great. Like I feel like specifically Pau Gasol, I feel like this just wasn't a good matchup for him. I mean, Golden State is just they are too quick, and Pau isn't able to to get back fast enough on D because he's usually having to guard KD, and that's just a big mismatch for him. But I think he'll have a great season. And Dwayne Dedman, I'm not sure about him yet. Like he really was the worst player on the floor the whole game. He looked like a third string player. He just didn't look comfortable out there. He missed some easy dunks, and I just don't know if he's going to be on the Spurs longer than a month because he looked like a D leaguer out there. When you got players that were drafted, specifically you have uh, Dejounte Murray who didn't even play in this game, and I think he's going to probably only play 30 games this season and kind of have that Corey Joseph trajectory where he will, may not play a lot of minutes his first year, but Pop will groom him, make sure that he gets accustomed to the Spurs system, and he'll be a solid backup point guard for us. And I think that is what Pop does best. He develops talent better than any coach in the league. You see what happened to Jonathan Simmons last night. He scored 20 points, and he had probably one of the best quarters I've seen him play so far, in his early career, scoring 15 points in the second quarter, that really was instrumental in putting this game away for the Spurs. But I want your thoughts on: do you think that Golden State's overrated, or do you think that they'll be able to right the ship? And is this maybe more of an indicator on how good the Spurs actually are?
I'm gonna go with the latter there, saying it's. I don't believe that Golden State is overrated because I do believe they have the firepower. That's they're at least going to be in the Western Conference Finals, competing to make it to the finals at least. But you do got to give the Spurs credit. I mean, they're a team that had some changes themselves, but the core stayed the same. And you mentioned Jonathan Simmons, who may be. I know Kawhi did have 35, but Simmons might be the biggest storyline of all out of that game. Um, the way he was playing, and I think looking, what was it? I believe it was. I forget if it was the second or third quarter. But when Steph was wide open down the court, and he chased him all the way down and blocked him. I think that set the tone for them saying, it's the season's not over yet, even if it's just starting tonight. Because that's what everybody's been saying up to this point. Um, but definitely, I feel like the Spurs have a system in place for all these players to succeed. Like you said, I do agree. I don't think it was the matchup worked well for Pau Gasol. But with the lack of the size underneath that they lost in the offseason, I mean, Draymond had to handle a lot of the duty of guarding LaMarcus, and you just saw what LaMarcus did to him. He was terrorizing him last night. And I don't want to say they're overrated, but a bit of a sample size. It's kind of really their first time, officially out there other than the preseason. And you kind of saw like where the shot's going to go, who's going to be losing the shots. I know at one point in the offseason, Klay Thompson was like, regardless of Durant being here, I'm still going to take the same amount of shots I usually take. So if Klay doesn't want to lose his shots, Steph may seem kind of mild about it. But he's probably not going to lose shots, and Durant still wants his. You're going to lose a lot of the shots that you used to get from Draymond. And if Draymond's not scoring, yeah, he plays his heart out on defense. But if a player's not scoring, he's not getting the ball as much. I mean, he's not going to show the same kind of heart, maybe not the same amount of intensity. And, even if his actions and his heart have sometimes got in the way, similar to how it did in the finals last year, game 4, I believe it was, when after he got suspended for punching LeBron down low. I mean, they need that because they don't have size, and they need Draymond to be aggressive. But if he's not going to get the ball, maybe he'll lose that aggressiveness. So that is something to look for in this season. But definitely the Spurs showed us that they're right there and they're prepared for Golden State. And a Clippers team that we've yet to see play may have a shot, but that's yet to be determined to see in the regular season how they play.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the Clippers. I think the reason why people aren't as high on them is that it was the preseason, but they did get destroyed by 50 points to this Golden State Warriors team. So I'm not really high on the Clippers. I mean, I know it's the preseason, but that usually is a telling sign on how much of a talent disparity there is, and the Clippers really aren't really the team that's best equipped to beat them because besides. They really don't have anybody like any bigs, that really can stop them from long periods of the game. Outside of the big, I can't even think of his name right now. That starts for the Clippers. But other than him, who else do they have?
You're saying who? I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the Clippers, the center for the Clippers. I can't even think of his name right now. What?
Yeah, Andre Jordan.
Yeah, DeAndre Jordan. Yeah, DeAndre Jordan. Besides him, that's the only center they have that really can stop the inside presence, any type of inside game that the Golden State Warriors would have against them. And DeAndre can definitely not guard Steph and Klay and Draymond and KD at the perimeter because he's just not. I don't think his game is built for that. So I feel like the Clippers are pretty much a poor man's version of Golden State, anyways. I just feel like teams that are best equipped to beat Golden State would have to be the Detroit Pistons, with Andre Drummond and those boys. Then you also got the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James and his group. Then you got the San Antonio Spurs, with their group is probably the best. They probably have the best front court in the league, and then probably. Maybe the Pelicans, maybe. I'm not sure. And then you also have maybe the Minnesota Timberwolves is another team that you need to watch out for. They actually got enough size that maybe can give them issues too. And they're athletic too. But outside of those teams, there's a bunch of teams where I think that the Golden State Warriors are just going to completely outscore them. And they won't even have to try. Like last night, the Spurs, they destroyed them. And I don't think they even tried it. And they scored 129 points. I think if they really tried, they probably could have scored 140 to 150. Like, that's how bad Golden State was last night on defense. But it's going to be interesting to see. But I want your thoughts on, since you're a Cavs fan, what you think on the Cleveland Cavaliers destroying the New York Knicks, who people labeled as a super team before the season started.
Honestly, I don't think much of it at this point. I wasn't as high on the Knicks as others have been up to this point. I know they have added talent, guys like Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Courtney Lee, and others. But it was their first time with this group out there. I know there's talent, but they have to get acclimated with each other and grow that chemistry just like any other new team. And I obviously don't think they're there yet. It was showing last night. And Cleveland was kind of motivated, because they're the champions, but they've been hearing all offseason that it's Golden State's ring this year for sure. And they got the nationally televised game, the first one on the night. They got their rings, they got to raise their banner, and they made it known that there's a reason why they're the reigning champions right now, and they're going for a second title right now.
So do you think that So do you think that this is just another day in the office for LeBron James, or do you think that they're so far ahead of everyone else in the East that it won't matter
I believe,
who is their opposition?
I believe they are that much better than New York. I do believe they are in another level, another tier in the East compared to everybody else. But there have been teams that have made strides in the right direction. I've been on record saying that I feel as if Boston has a good chance. And if Indiana, with all their new pieces, could put things together, I like their chances to at least make it somewhat interesting in the Eastern Conference. But I do expect Cleveland to be back in the finals once again.
Okay, so who do you think that is going to be the direct opposition to the Cleveland Cavaliers? You think it's going to be the Pacers, or do you think it's going to be some other team?
I'm I have yet to see Indiana play, obviously, and we'll see how that goes. But for now, I'm going to say Boston with the addition of Al Horford. They kept their core intact, and they usually play Cleveland pretty tough. And I think with Al Horford, he's another weapon to have. He has the ability to score inside. He's improved his perimeter game in recent years. So I think Boston has a solid chance to make it interesting.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the games that are going on right now. I'm gonna talk about the game that I've kind of been watching before I even got on the show, which was the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Philadelphia 76ers game. So, what do you think about the Sixers with Joel Embiid playing his first game as a NBA player? And do you think that he's going to be Rookie of the Year this season? And also, what do you think of what the Oklahoma City, the new look Oklahoma City Thunder without Kevin Durant are playing, how they're playing so far, based on what you've seen so far?
Um, well, so far in the offseason, I mean, they ran into a few injuries. I believe Cameron Payne was out for a little bit, and his role will be increased on this team now. When Westbrook does go to the bench, his ball handling duty is going to be needed more. You obviously have a loss of Ibaka, loss of Durant, and like we've been saying for a while, the onus is now on Westbrook. It's his team. He's going to have the reins. Right now I'm checking the score. They're down by 3 in Philadelphia. So that's pretty interesting. With Joel Embiid, finally he's on the court. Philadelphia spent so much time trying to rehab these big men. They have so many big men on the roster, and they finally get the one, I guess, the best one out of all of them that they believe finally on the court. And from what he's shown in the preseason, I mean, he looks like a young beast. He's pretty good in the post. He's amazing defensively with his athleticism, and he's shown some range. I was watching a game about a week or so ago, and they were playing in Cleveland, I think it was, and he had made a three and some other perimeter jumpers. So it seems like he's been working hard at that. Um, but I don't know if I could put him as the rookie of the year yet. I mean, there's plenty of other good rookies out. Uh, so I'm going to hold my judgment and thought on that until a few weeks of the season go by.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with Embiid, I feel like the 76ers are in a weird situation. Like for some reason, I don't know if it's what the water they got in Philadelphia, but every time one player is looking like they're going to be a stud for their organization, another player gets hurt. Like it's just crazy that they don't have their complete team healthy at one time uh, for just even for a month in the season. Like there's always some player that was highly touted and they just aren't ready to play because they get some weird injury. I don't know if it's because of the trainers, personal trainers they have, or the doctors, or what it is, but they just keep getting players that are injury prone. And I'm not sure if Philadelphia will ever be a legit contender out east because of it. They just got probably the worst luck of any team in the NBA.
Yeah, especially with their top pick Ben Simmons going to be out for a few weeks. So definitely the luck is not on their side in Philadelphia.
Yeah, so we're gonna also talk about the games that are coming up this Friday. Since I've kind of been checking like all the games that are happening this upcoming weekend, we're gonna talk about particular games that I think that are must see games, And these two games I feel like are the must-see games of the rest of the week. And the first game I'm going to talk about, and this because the Golden State Warriors got destroyed last night, and this is going to be the Pelicans Warriors game. And the reason why I think this game is going to be a great game to watch is because I just love seeing other teams look completely lost and get destroyed after having just a disappointing game the night before. And I just think that Golden State's on the bad end of this. I mean, the Pelicans are on the bad end of this, and they're just going to be destroyed by probably 30 to 40 points. Because I feel like the Pelicans, even though on paper they should match up well with them, I just don't think they got enough offense to be able to counteract the explosive firepower that the Golden State Warriors have. Do you disagree with me on that? Do you think that the Pelicans have a legit shot to win this game, or do you think it's going to be a Golden State runaway win?
Not at all. Um, I want to be respectful. I don't know if I will go all the way to say 40 points, even though we have seen them have that ability in the preseason. I'm going to go anywhere between probably 25 and 30 um, about this game because the Pelicans have some talent, but in recent years, I mean, it's all been like, oh, they're going to make that step. They're going to make that step. They made the playoffs. We played Golden State a few years back, got swept. One or two of the games were close. The other ones weren't. Um, and I think that history will continue. Warriors will easily blow out the Pelicans, probably by the first half, and make the rest of the second half uninteresting.
And then the second game of the doubleheader that's going on Friday is the Cavs Raptors game, and that's another game which it was last year's Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's going to be the Eastern Conference Finals for a second consecutive season. I think so. I know we chatted many times that you don't think that's going to be the matchup, but I just feel like this is going to be an intriguing matchup because we get to see kind of how much of a drop off the Raptors are going to have losing Bismack Biyombo. But I don't think it's going to be that big of a drop off because they got Dwayne Casey, who is probably one of the best young coaches in the league, and I don't think he's going to have this team unprepared and have this team looking like the Knicks did on last night. So I want your take on: do you think that this game is going to be closer than that game, or do you think that the Cavs are going to do kind of what they did to the Knicks to the Raptors on Friday night?
I'll give the Raptors a little more credit than I would the Knicks. But the reason why I disagree with you on the point of Bismack not being as big of a deal and that the Raptors won't make the Eastern Conference Finals is because if you look back at last year's Eastern Conference Finals, the first two games, Cleveland dominated them. And then they went into Toronto. And in the third game, it was going back and forth, but it wasn't really until Bismack Biyombo started making a few plays defensively, disrupting some guys. He blocked LeBron a few times. And just his presence and aggressiveness and acting as an enforcer on the defensive side of the ball in the court was leading to plenty of turnovers, plenty of fast breaks to Toronto going the other way, and which led to their scoring. Same thing happened in Game 4 of that series when Bismack Biyombo played solid. That happened again, and then when they went back to Cleveland, they were able to neutralize him. I think Game 5 they got him into a little bit of foul trouble, which kept him out for a little bit. But I do think he plays a big part because, yes, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are talented. They don't have enough talent around them to stop Kyrie, LeBron, Love, and the rest of the bunch, especially Cleveland adding some depth this offseason with rookie Kate Felder, who's yet to play because he has a concussion. Birdman, of course, who's played with LeBron in the past, so he has some continuity with him. And Mike Dunleavy, who may be a surprise for a lot of people, but he's going to have a big role on this team. He can shoot well. He's a smart player, high IQ, passes the ball well, able to defend his position well. And I really don't – I mean, this game, I see Cleveland winning by about 15 or so. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think they're going to make it out of the second round.
Okay. I guess we just got to see what's going to happen. I mean, I think it can go either way, but I think it's going to be a lot more entertaining game, and I actually do think that the Raptors will keep it close. They may not win the game, but they'll make it competitive because, like I said, I have faith that the Raptors are not going to roll over and die, and I respected the hell out of that team, how they fought back and how impressive they looked against the Cavs. In the Eastern Conference Finals last year because I actually thought that they would get swept, and they actually made it real competitive and actually made it a series that people were actually thinking that maybe that they may have a shot to win this series. So I just respect their team. I respect how they construct their team and how they got a lot of underdogs on that team that most people would never expect to be all stars, at least when they first got in the league.
I see your point. Um, I do see your point. Maybe they can make it interesting. Those two are very talented. I just don't see it happening though.
So we're gonna switch gears, and we're gonna talk about NBA awards that's gonna be awarded at the end of the season. We're gonna first talk about the MVP. I know most people are saying that LeBron James is gonna win his fifth MVP trophy this year, but I don't think it's gonna happen. My MVP this year is gonna shock people because I'm a Spurs fan, but I'm not gonna say Kawhi Leonard. I think he's gonna be the dark horse pick, but my actual pick is gonna be Russell Westbrook. I think that guy is primed to have an MVP year. He's a human triple double machine, and I just feel like he's gonna have like 40 triple doubles this year because of just how reckless he is. Going inside, getting rebounds, getting assists, scoring at will. I don't feel like anyone's numbers is going to be close to him. I know LeBron had a triple double his first game of the season, but LeBron, his team is so much better than the the Thunder's team that he wanted to do as much, while Russell Westbrook wanted to do everything on that team. And I want your take on: do you agree with my MVP pick, or do you think it's going to be someone else um, besides Russell Westbrook? Because I just feel like he just, unless he has like a below 500 year, I don't think that the media is not going to give him the award.
Oh, I can obviously see why you would choose Russell Westbrook. I mean, for a good part of this offseason, I was thinking it was going to be Russell Westbrook. Um, but they do have talent on the team, but I don't think they'll have enough where he'll get the certain amount of wins to be able to even qualify. I mean, he'll probably be in the top three, top five or so in the voting. But I am one that could see that be a guy like Kawhi. I think he's been on the rise, finally being his time. Um, I've been talking about the Pacers. If they can get everything together, maybe if they get themselves in that second seed, it could be Paul George. The one guy that we haven't talked about at least, that played last night, and the game wasn't even national televised. Damian Lillard, he could be the MVP this year. I mean, the guy had 39 points last night. I think 6 3-pointers. He was balling out, and this is a team that they may take the Thunder spot in the Western Conference, at least from last year, in terms of wins, or at least being higher than them in the standings. I mean, I think they have the ability to maybe actually make it all the way to the third seed, third or fourth seed this year. And if he plays like that and they just continue, I mean, he's been kind of getting the short end of the stick the last few years. There's been games where he should have years where he should have made the All-Star game and he hadn't. Other awards that he's missed out on, but I do believe that Damian Lillard, even with only one game last night, could find himself in the MVP conversation for sure.
Okay, so the next award we're going to talk about, and this one is probably maybe the most straightforward one award that we're going to talk about too, and that's Defensive Player of the Year. I know for 2 straight years, Kawhi Leonard has won Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's gonna go for a third and win that third straight award. Um, I want your take. Do you think that Kawhi is going to have a third Defensive Player of the Year type of year and get the award again, or do you think it's going to be someone else? And if so, who do you think that player is going to be?
Thing is, I just can't really see anybody else doing it. I mean, the way Kawhi defends, he could defend big guys, he could defend on the perimeter, long arms, he gets plenty of steals, gets his blocks here and there. He's always defending the other team's best player. I just honestly, I don't see anybody else coming anywhere close to him in votes for the third straight year. And I think he's going to repeat with his Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, so now we're going to go to Most Improved Player award. And my Most Improved Player pick is probably completely different from yours because this is always the one award where it could be a myriad of players. I think it's actually going to be, based on what I've seen last night, I think Jonathan Simmons is going to win the award this year. I think if he averages 18 points a game, I think he's gonna be the award winner. I actually was tempted to pick either him or Brandon Jennings. I was kind of on the fence, but after what I saw last night, I think that Jonathan Simmons is going to have a most improved player type year, and also his next contract is going to be very interesting because I don't know if you know Jonathan Simmons' story, but you got to root for the kid just based on what his story is because his story is kind of real similar to um, maybe Jeremy Lin, like when how he struggled to get in the league because Jonathan Simmons had to pay $150 to try out for the D League, so he wasn't even good enough to even have a chance to even play for the D League. That's how bad off he was, and I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he has like um, six kids too or something like that, and
Well,
so it was like he was one of those. He had like a pursuit of happiness type story. I don't know if you saw that Will Smith movie,
yeah.
but he pretty much all everything was against him. He had to make it, or this would be it. And he proved people wrong. He did what he had to do, and he's having a good NBA career, because he persevered and he overcame all the struggles that he had to deal with because he had to not only do something for himself, he had to do something for his family, and to stay at it and go after your dreams when you have your family to take care of. That's incredible, and I just rooting for the kid and just hope that he continues to get better and succeeds in this Spurs system because Pop always rewards players that people may not have given that chance to, like a Danny Green. His just same thing with him. And he most people didn't think Danny Green would be the player he is today, based on how he was when he was on the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he never got playing time. So Pop just for some reason just keeps getting these players that no one else believes in, and I feel like anytime the Spurs tries to acquire a player from another team, the team should start reevaluating if that player is as bad as they think he is, because Pop for some reason is able to get those players to play much better for their system.
I've heard the part of the story with Jonathan Simmons that he did have to pay $150 to at least try out in the D League. I was not aware that he had that many kids and that he had to support such a large family. Um, and if he plays anything like he did last night, he averages any kind of numbers close to that, I could see that happening. But I have two players, and only will they be in the discussion if either of the team makes the playoffs. I'm going to start off in Milwaukee. I'm going to go with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's a very talented player. It wasn't until towards the end of last season where he was starting to really fill the stat sheet when head coach JCK was throwing him in at point guard, with the abilities he has and just his athletic dominance. I mean, he's so tall. I think this offseason he grew another inch. He's been growing since he was in high school, I believe they've been saying. I think he has the opportunity to, if he can start to develop that jump shot more, and he could become more lethal rather than just only having the ability to attack the basket. But he could definitely come close to averaging a triple double with his skills and his size and his athleticism. Another guy, only if that team makes the playoffs, he comes close. Which, I mean, I don't know if they will, but I do think he's a really good player. Is Devin Booker. I think this is a kid that's really skilled offensively. Even LeBron had come out this offseason and said this kid's going to be an all-star one day. And I think he has the ability to kind of take the reins of this team and be the leader of this team. I think he can get anywhere between 22 and 25 points this season. But it's so hard because the West is always so packed. I don't know if Phoenix will have come close to finding a spot in. So saying that, since the East is so weak, I think Milwaukee will will sneak into that 7th or 8th seed, and it'll be Giannis Antetokounmpo. That'll probably win Most Improved.
That's a pretty solid person that you have that I think is going to win that award. I think, and lastly, before we the crazy thing is that what the Most Improved and the next award on my list, I really could have named Jonathan Simmons for either one of these awards, and this is for the Sixth Man of the Year award. So this is another award where I think he's gonna be in heavy consideration if he maybe is plays better than I expect. He could win this award too. But I think for Sixth Man of the Year award, I think it's gonna go to my guy Brandon Knight. I think he's definitely gonna win that
Brandon,
award.
Brandon Knight or Brandon Jennings?
Brandon Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, Brandon Knight.
Okay.
Um, both Brandons are going to be in consideration this year. Because I think Brandon Knight is a real talented player, and I feel like he's finally in the right team that will take advantage of his skill set. Do you disagree with that, or do you think it's going to be someone else? Because the last few years, the Sixth Man of the Year has kind of been awarded to the same player, and I feel like I think there should be a rule after like two straight years. I feel like they should change it up and have a different player because after you're already qualified, you're already six man. You shouldn't keep winning the same award for that. Defensive player of the year is a different type of award. It's pretty much the MVP for the defense as well. I feel like six man is you you pretty much are got the pretty much like the Greg Popovich rule where he can be coach of the year every year, but they're not going to award him the award every single time unless he has an an above Popovich type year, because he's Popovich. I mean, he's the best coach in the league, and he is always the best coach in the league. Like, there's no one every year that gets even close to him. I think this year, I think for that award, I mean, I think it's going to be Brad Stevens, but we'll talk about that in a second. But what do you think about the sixth man? Do you think it's going to be him or someone else?
Um, this is tough too. I mean, all these kind of awards, unless it's like Rookie of the Year, where usually the rookie is on a team that's not so good, so they're not going to make the playoffs. A lot of these awards kind of are pro playoff teams for any player that wins these awards because it shows the amount of success. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs just yet. You said the team earlier, they're on the rise. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I'm going to go with point guard Zach LaVine. I believe that he has a chance. I saw some signs later on at the end of last season. He's not just an attacker of the basket who can dunk anymore. He's showing he has a little perimeter game now. He can shoot the jump shot. And it's going to be a battle for that point guard spot. I mean, you got Ricky Rubio, who there's been rumors saying he could be traded, because they're not happy with the progress that he's made. He doesn't fit that system so well, as well as how great he is to pass. But you do have Zach LaVine, and you do have Chris Dunn, the point guard that they drafted. So it's going to be a battle for that point guard spot, even if Ricky Rubio does start. So he may not win the award if Ricky Rubio does play under par and he does step his game up to the point where he becomes a starter. So for now, I would say Zach LaVine.
Okay, and we're going to stay on to the Minnesota Timberwolves because I'm going to talk about the Rookie of the Year award. I think it's going to go to Chris Dunn because I was impressed with what I saw with limited action of him. Like I said, it really is. It's going to be indicated on how much playing time Rubio is going to be getting me because I feel like if Rubio is traded or gets limited minutes, I feel like that's where Dunn will thrive and will definitely have a chance to see him show his athleticism and his scoring ability because he can definitely score the ball. And I just I love his game, and I think that he is my favorite. And I want your take on. Do you think it's gonna be someone else besides him? Because I feel like it really isn't that many players. I mean, that I saw in the summer league that really wowed me. Where I would think that okay, they're gonna win the award this year.
I did like his play. But my favorite player I know he didn't play so hot in the summer league, and I didn't get to watch him at all in the preseason, so I'm not sure how well he performed, if at all. But my favorite player that was drafted was Buddy Hield out of Oklahoma. Um, I think he's an NBA ready scorer. Offensively, he can handle his own. Defensively, he's shown signs he doesn't have to improve. But if he gets the ball and he gets the opportunities in New Orleans, which he may very well so, if they start to get off to a bad start again and they try to get the ball into his hands more to see what he's capable of, I think it's possible that Buddy Hield could come away with the award.
And our last award, I know I kind of teased this not too long ago. And this is the Coach of the Year award. I think he's going to go to Brad Stevens, like I said earlier. I think that he is probably the closest to Greg Popovich level that there is in the league, and I feel like he's a young, like Popovich level coach. I feel like he's, you know, is just missing a few things that Greg Popovich does well, and he probably didn't have the scouting ability. But as far as calling up plays, I feel like he's one of the best in the business. I feel like he's up there with Doc Rivers in that aspect. I feel like there's Greg Popovich and there's Doc Rivers and there's probably Brad Stevens in that order. But I just feel like the Celtics are going to have a much better year than the Clippers are going to have in the East, and I feel like it's his award for the taking. I want your take. Do you think it's going to be Brad Stevens to win the award, or do you think there's going to be another coach that's going to kind of come out on top for that award?
Um, to clarify, who won it last year?
It was Dwayne Casey.
Was it? Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was Steve Kerr.
Was it?
Because that was the Nimbus debacle where they were talking about.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr shouldn't win the award because he only coached half the season, and Dwayne Casey should have won the award last season because he coached the whole season, and the Raptors outperformed all of our expectations last season. That's what happened.
I think the guy that actually should have won it last year, who did get robbed of the award, and who will win it this year, is Portland Trailblazers head coach Jerry Stotts. I mean,
Solid choice.
Like last year, I mean, this team had lost 4 of 5 of their starters. This team was destined for the lottery, one of the top 5 picks, and Damian Lillard, most improved player, C.J. McCollum, came together and they led that team all the way to the playoffs into the second round. And they get in. It may have been the most competitive 5-game series in NBA history. I mean, they pushed the Warriors really close, pretty much almost every game they played. And I do believe it's going to be Terry Stotts. I think Damian Lillard's going to continue to improve. He's going to take that next step, even if it feels like he can't because he's so skilled already. CJ McCollum's going to continue to improve. It's going to be Terry Stotts this year for sure.
Yeah, that's a solid choice. I do feel like Terry Stotts has a great chance, and I feel like this is the year that Dame Lillard is going to finally make the All-Star team. I feel like he should have been in the All-Star team, the last 2 years, but he's for some reason just been out of the game because there's so many good point guards and so many great guards are in the West. And they gotta even it out. They gotta have an even amount of guards and forwards and all that stuff in the game. That he just got out of it just for the fact that there just isn't enough spots for him. Which I feel like once they have allotted a certain amount of spots for guards and forwards, that there should be like wild cards where any player, regardless of position, should be in the game because you can't tell me that he's not one of the best players in the West. I mean, let alone in the league. I feel like he's probably right now. I put him as a top 10 player, but he'll have a chance to prove himself if he played like he did last night. Which he scored 39 points in 20 minutes of action, which is incredible. I mean, that's it's almost 2 times as many points for every minute he played. He's gonna have a great argument and a great case for being not only an all-star, but have a chance to win MVP, like you said. So it's going to be a good season. It's going to be interesting to see. Before we go, do you have any other comments on what you think is going to happen this year besides who you think is going to win the NBA championship?
I believe that we're going to get the third matchup of Golden State and Cleveland. And I mean, the weapons that Golden State has just is insurmountable, until the Spurs went in there last night and said, you guys aren't all that. I don't know. It's just the Warriors have a lack of size. They don't have that shot blocking at the rim anymore. They have their bench is lessened with the amount of skill they have at it. So I'm going to go with Cleveland repeats. But I do believe if Golden State gets their stuff together and they maybe make a few trades throughout the season, or they try to add some other talent to their bench, they'll be the front runner.
Okay, so I definitely think the Cavaliers are going to be in the East, but I think the Spurs are going to come out of the West. I know it's not surprising, but I feel like I mean, even though I'm a Spurs fan, like I have a legit case why I think the Spurs are going to come out. The thing is, Golden State did us a favor by taking KD from the Thunder, because Thunder was actually the one team that actually gave us the most issues of any other team, any other NBA team. Like we struggle historically against the Thunder because they have bigs, they have shooters, they have athleticism. You know, they weaken one of our biggest opposition to go to another team that, I mean, in my opinion, I think has gotten weaker. And people are saying, "Oh no, Golden State has not gotten weaker. They're a better team." I mean, on paper, offensively, they've gotten better, but overall as a team, I thought they got worse. They may figure it out. They may do something, but I think they're gonna have to sign and get rid of somebody to get a big to offset how big of a void that there is right now. Because I mean, teams are able to just waltz in there and score at will. I mean, like I said, it may be just a one game thing or whatever, but I don't think that's the case. And I feel like San Antonio is going to win a 7-game series against the Golden State. I don't think it's going to be easy, and then make it back to the NBA Finals, and then play the Cavs again. And you know how Greg Popovich is. He's like a wizard. He's like the Bill Belichick of the NBA. Like every year the Spurs are contenders. They are a great team. They're always in the hunt. And I feel like this is going to be the first chance for Kawhi Leonard to finally assert himself as a Hall of Fame candidate by taking the Spurs to win the NBA championship. I feel like they got everything they need to win it. I feel like LeBron James is definitely going to give them hell, but I think the Spurs are going to take this one this year and ruin the media's and Golden State's chances of winning a championship, which I feel like most Thunder fans want that to happen, and they're going to be Spurs fans this whole season. I already know. I mean, they were Spurs fan last night, and they're going to be probably Spurs fans when we beat them in the playoffs too. So it's going to be a great year. Last thing, any last thoughts before we end the show?
No, I got nothing else.
All right, so I appreciate everybody watching the show this week. I know this one was a little bit shorter than it normally is, but we want to make an NBA themed show for the NBA opening week. I hope you guys are watching the games. And also, just send us questions. Send us questions to my email at thecam18@gmail.com, and I'll gladly answer them on next week's show. And also, I mean, we want to hear from you guys too, because if you watch our show every week, we're going to start giving giveaways once we reach a certain number of people that watch our show. And if you don't watch the show, you're never going to have a chance to win those giveaways. I know Thanksgiving is coming up, and Christmas is coming up. We're going to definitely do a Christmas giveaway where I'm going to give everyone a chance to win, a $100 gift card. So stay tuned for that. But we're going to see you next week. Hope you guys have fun watching the game this weekend. And before we go, what's your social media for people that want to follow you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all those other sites?
You can follow me on Instagram at bzez.2. You can follow me on Facebook at my name, Brandon Zezima, BrandonZezima. And I'm a writer for Real Sport as well as Cam, so I try to look at our work over there as well.
All right, you can follow me at CPScott1 on my Instagram. You can also follow me on my Snapchat at Cam Perry TV. And also follow me on my Twitter at Cam Perry 21, and also follow me on my Facebook page at Cam Perry Sports. We'll see you next week, and stay tuned. All right, bye.